Oh, yeah. Cool. So you guys can chat and you're remaining.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I don't know if you can hear us or not. I don't know if you can see us, but we can certainly go with this. So I'd like to introduce the people that are here today. First of all, I'm Thea Chase. I'm the director of the Telluride Venture Accelerator, and we're extremely excited to have you all participating today and meeting some of our mentors and one of our graduates from last year. So over here we have Jack Gilbride, and we have Len Matheny and Ann Brown, and these are all mentors with TVA. And then we have Patrick Latcham, who is the CEO of Pro Editors, which was one of our 2015 teams. Great. And so I wanted to just give you a little bit of information again about TVA. Telluride Venture Accelerator is a 5-month accelerator. I know that all of you that are on this webinar have taken a look at our website and you're familiar with what kind of what TVA is about. But we are accepting applications through October 16th, and you can access them from our website and through the fsuccess.com site as well, as that's where you'll be directed to. And we'll talk a little bit during the panel discussion about what we're looking for in applications. But Telluride is a great place to launch a company. This is our 4th cohort. We've worked with 18 companies and helped them to raise over $9 million. The average raise out of the accelerator is around $550,000 within the first year, and that's a really nice seed round. But what we're really excited about is our group of mentors. So we have over 85 mentors, and these are world-class mentors. I know they're all going to say, oh my. But they certainly are, and last year, they spent over 1,000 hours with our teams, direct hours with our teams, and they do that in a variety of ways, anything from one-on-one meetings to, we have these things called short chats where mentors will come into the TVA offices and they'll introduce themselves and then talk about something that they have an interest in or an area of expertise. And then a lot of them will do office hours with all of the companies, or they'll do workshops or seminars on areas that they have interest in. The other thing that mentors do is they allow access into their networks, and that's really very, very powerful, especially as we really subscribe to this whole lean launch methodology. And a lot of what we do is try to help you to get to the best product market fit, and using tools like the business model canvas, you can kind of lay out what your assumptions are and then go ahead and test your hypotheses. Now I know that all of you have kind of heard about this whole concept, but truly having access to these mentors with the expertise they have as well as all of the networks they have is instrumental in helping you to kind of understand what the landscape looks like and really what the best avenue for you to pursue to launch your company. So I think that's all I had in my intro remarks. I do want to bring your attention to a couple of upcoming things, and I'll try to remember to do that at the end as well. But for those of you that are in the outdoor industry, and even if you're not, you might find it of interest. It is one of our primary verticals that we are that we target, and we're having a audio panel that Kristen Ogden is going to host. We're going to have Gordon Seabury, the founder of Horny Toad, now Toad & Company, as well as Ross Saldarini. And Ross is founder of Mountain Khakis, and I believe DJ Jensen is going to jump on that as well, and with Black Diamond. And so that'll be excellent. That'll be recorded next week on the 30th and available through our website on the 1st. And so they've been mentors for us for many years, and so definitely want to check in on that call. The other thing is that we're going to do another, Jesse Johnson, the CEO and co-founder of TVA, and I are going to do another Q&A session. And this time, last time we had to end up doing that as a conference call, but this time we'll try it as a webinar again. So hope that you can join that, and I believe we're going to try to schedule that the first week of October. So we'll keep you informed as to what's going to happen there. So I think we're ready to start. So I asked the mentors if they would just do a brief introduction of themselves, and I asked them if they would really tell the full story, because they're all very humble people and they're also very amazing people. So with that, Jack, you're on.
Thanks, Thea. I guess the reason I'm here is a couple. One is I've gone through the startup process. I left a safe and well-paying corporate job to start a company with a partner in Atlanta, and we raised ultimately $32 million from venture and private equity, and grew the company to several thousand employees. And then after that was sold, I went and did private investments, direct investments, angel investments, mostly in Silicon Valley. I'm a partner in 4 funds out in Silicon Valley and 1 in China. And that's really my experience. And I've enjoyed the mentoring process here the last couple of years.
Len.
Hi, I'm Len. I've been mentoring since the start of the program, I guess 3.5, 4, just going on the 4th year. I have kind of a personal reason why I started mentoring. Back when I was 23 and started my first business, the first couple of years were pretty rough. And then I met somebody who helped me really start to rethink the business. He was not an investor. He wasn't necessarily a board member. He was literally someone who just had a lot of experience, had a lot of connections, you know, had been around the block multiple times with businesses, and he took me under his wing. And he stayed with me for literally, you know, probably 3 or 4 years. This is going back a while, but, and I always said that, you know, when I make it and when I have the chance to give back like that, I'm going to do it. And, you know, sure enough, when this program started, I live here full-time in Telluride. So when this program started 4 years ago, and they came to me and asked if I wanted to be involved, I jumped at the chance. You know, now that I mentor, I got to say, I get a lot out of it. I love working with young startup companies. The passion that it brings, it fuels my passion. It keeps me thinking, keeps me tuned into all the good stuff going on out there. And I just love being around, you know, young startup companies that are trying to figure it out and make a difference in the world. So that's why I participate.
Great. Ann.
Hi, Ann Brown. I am a market researcher. I live in Telluride. I have for over 25 years. I work for a boutique research firm in New York City. And I got involved with the TVA because I was really excited about sort of the vitality that the organization brought to Telluride. We are a big name, but a really small town. There are only about 5,000 or 6,000 people in our region, and economic diversity is always a subject for us, and also just kind of the idea of, as I said, vitality and bringing interesting ideas and interesting people here. So that's kind of what drew me to it. I also have a pretty specific skill set that I think is helpful to startup companies. As I mentioned, I do market research. And so I've been able to help, I think, people in a very specific way in terms of understanding who their potential core target market is, and also to refine their initial ideas to meet the needs and interests and so forth, aspirations of that target consumer. So I felt like I did have kind of a special skill set to share. And as we all get older, it's nice to you know, stay in touch with what's going on and what's you know, what people are doing, innovations that are out there, how young people are thinking, all that kind of thing. So it's really kind of a selfish thing as well as you know, a way to give back and contribute to this, what I think is a really vital part of Telluride. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to mention something before I forget about the network that Thea talked about. I don't know if people would know that much about Telluride, but we do have a strong resident population, but also a lot of second homeowners who come in and out of Telluride. And TVA, I think, has become a way for a lot of them to kind of engage in our community and contribute. And so you're not just benefiting from the resources of this small little mountain hamlet, you're benefiting from a real national and international network, and people who want to participate in this organization for all the reasons we've all talked about, but particularly because it's in Telluride. And when Thea spoke about network, I think it's network in 2 ways. It's you know, their friends and business relations who can help as resources as these accelerators or as companies take off, but also investor networks, right? So both of those. I mean, I know I connected the travel group with a woman I know who's in a very high-end travel agency. And I just said, oh, give her a call. You know, she might have some input for you. And she's now one of their, you guys probably know
The
more than
beta
I-
test, yeah.
Yeah.
She's doing beta. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that was just, you know, an offhand remark, and she's become a real integral part of what they're doing. So the networking, I think, is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Ann. I should mention that the composition of the mentors is about a third of them are Telluride residents, as all three of these mentors are. A third of them are second homeowners, and they come into Telluride. They have special kind of involvement with Telluride, but as Ann was mentioning, this is a way for them to connect with what's going on in Telluride, and they're super excited about it. And I guess the thing that's really special about it is that those people, they might work in, you know, the Bay Area, they might be in Silicon Valley, they might be in New York, that might be where they are full-time, or London, or, but they
Texas.
come to, or Texas, Texas. But they come to Telluride and they're relaxing. They're, you know, with their family, they're skiing, or they're mountain climbing, rock climbing, doing all kinds of outdoor activities. And they'll just wander into the TVA office in their ski boots, you know, and they'll spend some time, and then they'll go back out and they'll maybe take some rounds with some teams. And the quality of the interaction that we've seen with these people that, you know, it'd be so hard to even get 5 minutes with, is just incredible, and they love it. So it's that quality of interaction, I think, that has been really special. And maybe Patrick can speak about that. So last person to introduce themselves is Patrick Latcham, and he is the graduate from our 2015 cohort.
Yep. Hi there, I'm Patrick Latcham, founder of Pro Editors. And then I guess first I'll just start with why I went into the Telluride Venture Accelerator. I had this idea. I knew it had some legs. Was talking to a lot of people about it, but I had no idea how to go about executing it. And I knew I couldn't just do it on my own. And then I heard about the Telluride Venture Accelerator, and I was already living in Telluride, so that was an obvious, amazing match. And then I caught up with Dia and just started bouncing some ideas off each other. And I realized that this program would allow me to go from the idea I had to a functional business. And that's exactly what happened during the program. So it was amazing. And then also just to add on to the mentors, I would say that that's the biggest asset of the Telluride Venture Accelerator. You have these people who live extremely busy lives, and then when they come here and they're on the vacation, they want to give back, and all of a sudden they have some time and availability, and they share that time with you. And the mentor list is absolutely amazing, and how engaged they are is even more so. Yeah.
So great. So we're going to jump into some questions, and I've also asked the mentors if they could provide some specifics along the way in terms of how they've engaged with the companies. And then also kind of talk a little bit about why they mentor, but I think everybody kind of mentioned that, and actually just heard like the shaking sound of a dog collar. We do have several dogs here, so if you
Dog
hear,
in residence.
so we do have
Dogs
dogs
in
in residence.
residence.
Right, so if you do hear like barking in the background, that's what's going on. We are talking to you from the TVA offices. We're at the Peaks Hotel, and we are the only ski and ski out accelerator that we know of in the world today. So we're pretty proud of that fact as well.
And we should mention that we're looking out at some beautiful golden
Yes.
aspens and some 13,000-foot peaks behind the buildings over there. It's a pretty sweet place to live and work, and I think be inspired, don't you, by the energy here and the
Absolutely.
people's anyway.
Yeah.
That's why we live here.
That's why I live here. That's why I live here. So, kind of a what's the word? I don't know. Whatever. You can submit questions. So we have some questions, and I imagine that some of you are doing that along the way. But I wanted to start with one that was submitted about kind of what are the 3 biggest mistakes companies make when applying. So we're gonna take that question, but we're also going to kind of add on to that question and talk about kind of mistakes people make kind of in the course of launching a company too. So let's start with the application review. And I know we were talking about this a little bit before the webinar went live. And just to give you kind of a notion of how we do this, the applications are done in F-Success, the F-Success platform. You're submitting a 1 to 2 minute video. You're also submitting answers to your questions. So that's the only information that the reviewers have about you. We then engage all 85 of our mentors in the review process. So there's an initial review that the team will do, and we will take out the ones that just really don't meet our, clearly our verticals. Although our verticals, I should kind of say that don't rule yourself out because you don't think you fit. Let us kind of see. We do that for a lot of reasons, the reasons we choose the verticals, and we'll talk more about that in the Q&A session that Jesse and I do later in the month or beginning of October. But you know, maybe they don't fit. Maybe we're looking for high growth companies. We're looking for companies that could be backed by an angel investor. So you've got to have a big enough play in a way to scale this company. So, you know, certainly, you know, if an investor is going to be involved in the company, and we, TVA, we're an investor, and then potentially we're helping you to raise some funds from other angels and institutional investors, they want to see that the market's going to be large enough, that there's a high enough growth opportunity, that it's perhaps not too crowded. And so I asked the mentors if they would talk a little bit about what would make an attractive application in your mind, or what are kind of on the flip side, maybe mistakes that you could make in the application process. So anybody want to jump in on that?
I guess I'll start. You know, I think, so I've reviewed applications now for 3 years, and you know, they have a pretty well-defined process for how they include the mentors and get mentor feedback. And so they make the review process pretty easy for us. And as you guys have seen the application, most likely you know that, you know, we try not to make it too onerous in the application. And quite honestly, you know, we don't want to sit and have to spend 4 hours reading an application and trying, you know, you can't expect us to necessarily go out and research a market. So what's really important to me is one of the things I'm looking for is in the market analysis. When you're talking about your market and you're talking about your product fit, really getting to that value proposition quickly and helping us understand the potential for the market and how you solve the pain point. And I know it's kind of easy to say, you know, just, hey, give us your value proposition. But you'd be surprised at how many people have a hard time articulating that. And, you know, again, when we're only spending, you know, 15, 20 minutes in an application, and there's one question of, you know, 3 or 4 minutes of the video, you're covering the whole market and, you know, your value proposition. You kind of have to have that dialed in, because at the, you know, the way I review, at the end of the day, if I don't get how the product is solving the problem and how it fits into the market and where it fits, that's confusion that, you know, I'm probably ruling out that application. So, you know, really think about the value proposition and how it fits into the market would be one thing I'd say.
You know, to follow on with that, the clarity of the vision for the company. I mean, do you really understand where you fit in that market, in that ecosystem that you're going into, and how you will deal with the competition? Because if it's a market, then there's competition there already, and that may be competition, not necessarily direct competition to the same kind of product, but an alternative product. Or just, can you make the proposition clear enough so that someone understands the value proposition, understands the pain point you're solving quickly enough to go to the next step? It's not as clear in many of the applications that they have really thought that through as well as they need to in a short period of time.
So, Anne, I know you haven't been involved a lot in the review process, but, you know, thinking about the review process, what might be the, you know, a thing that you might look at, you know, or that would you look for in the application that you'd want to see?
Well, you're right. I'm like the one of the 85 who hasn't been involved in the
You've always been too busy at that time.
I know, that's
okay. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I think and this is probably more of what, okay. It's about like not having your head in the sand. Like, this can't be just an idea that you personally think is something that is worthwhile, that you would use, or that your mom would use, or your neighbor would use, or something like that. I think you need to demonstrate that there is a market need for that. And, you know, of course, that's something that we can help you refine once you get here. But there has to be an understanding that there is a real need for this service, product, or desire. we don't all necessarily need everything, but that I think you need to have really thought that through and be able to substantiate that.
Mhm.
That make sense?
I also like to see, for me, when I read an application, I don't expect, rightly or wrongly, I don't expect the companies coming through this program to be, the next $1 billion breakout. The reality is, we want to see a good-sized market. We want to see that you're solving a pain point. But I know, for me, when I read it, you don't have to, pretend like you're gonna, or you don't have to build to, say you're going to be $1 billion company in a $27 billion market. I mean, I would rather see you say it's a $500 million market, and we can be a major success in this niche area, and we're going to own this particular segment of this market. To me, that's that can be a better story and a more likely success for you than trying to be everything to the biggest market in the world. Because if you're in that big of a market trying to do everything, you probably have a lot of competition.
And if you're coming here, we don't expect you to be a finished product, a finished company, a well-developed team, all that. But it is very helpful to know, you're not going to know everything that you don't know. But it is very helpful to know the big pieces that, I need a technology partner, I need this, or I need that, because we can help fill those, help you fill those voids. But it's good. You have to understand what the big pieces that you're missing so that they can be focused on early, so you can get those in.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny.
I was going to say that also, makes me think about, just the management team.
Yeah,
I mean, what, as a reviewer, what I don't want to see you do is fill an application with a robust, 5 or 7 member management team that, just a week ago, you're throwing people in because you think you got to fill a management team to say that you're, coming into the accelerator.
For the application.
Yeah, I mean, to me, whether you're by yourself or you have a partner or there's 2 or 3 of you, what I'm looking for in the management team is subject matter expertise in the area, in your market area. So, if you're an insurance salesman and you're trying to come in with some education app and you don't have any experience in education, I'm going to be looking for someone on your team that's like integral to your team that really has that in-depth education experience. So you don't necessarily have to know everything yourself, but if you're going to be by yourself, then you better be the subject matter expert in your particular market.
I wanted to ask Patrick to kind of comment on that, because this is I didn't warn you. I'm sorry.
No, bring it.
But team. So when we have the F-Success system feeds the reviewers the opportunity to rank you in 3 core areas. So you're ranked in idea, market, and team. So let's talk about team for a little bit, because I think that's a big one. And you'll see that in all of the startup literature. It's all about the team. It doesn't really matter about the idea, because if we have the team, then, really we can make anything happen. And sure, I mean, but we're looking at all 3. So, but the team clearly is probably the most important thing in this whole, the whole evaluation. However, team could be one person to start with. And as Len was mentioning, you don't necessarily want to just load your application with a bunch of people you hardly know that fits like the kind of the profile that you need in order to prove you have that, because people will see through that. This is a relationship that this is like marriage, between accelerators and the teams. And we want the best for you, and we want to see that we can really help you. So example, Patrick came in with a 2-person team on your application.
Right.
And things quickly changed for Patrick. And we say that having just a sole founder is not ideal. We do look at sole founder operations, but it's not ideal. So really, we'd love to have you have other team members, and hopefully more than one of you in residence in Telluride. That's our goal. So maybe you want to talk about how the team situation evolved during the time that you were at this accelerator, because I think a lot of people are curious about, well, can you find us this, or how about that, or what if I show up alone, or, what's the experience been like for you?
Right. Yeah. So first I'll give a little background here. 2 weeks after we found out we got accepted into the Telluride Venture Accelerator, my co-founder told me he was kind of wiping his hands clean of the company. So, I'm like extremely excited for the program to start up, and this just like hit me right in the stomach. It was really kind of tough to handle at first, and it was really stressful. Wasn't sure what to do. And then once the program got going too, everyone's coming in with all their teams, and then there's solo me there. And in the end, I do think it worked out for the best. I was able to later on find someone who's the skills that I really needed for a co-founder. The first co-founder I had, who's a great person, and I still work with him and I love him, but has a lot of editing skills. But throughout the first couple of weeks of the program, we identified and realized with like the helps of the mentors that what we really needed to get pro editors moving was some tech skills to help build this website and build this platform to engage with our customers. And then, so that was something that the mentors helped me find. And then they also helped me, they all went into their networks to help me find this person and this fit. It's a very competitive market for tech talent. It's not an easy find by any means. But we worked together, put some job descriptions out there, put some feelers out, met with some people during the program. And a couple months into the program, I had my co-founder, CTO, and thanks to an introduction from the Telluride Venture Accelerator Network. So it all ended up working out great, and thanks to the support of these guys.
How was it to be in TVA just by yourself? How was that experience? Was that, you were the only one, right? That was us.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just me. It was just me, and it was tough, especially like during some of like the group exercises where like, okay, get together with your team and do this. I'm just like, oh shit. Like, sorry.
Patrick got to know himself really well.
Yeah.
But the dynamic here is very collaborative.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
it was extremely collaborative, and like that was another thing. Like I worked with other teams that are part of the cohort, and I really got to know those guys. I actually, crazy coincidence, I knew one of the other applicants that got accepted too. But just getting feedback and working with the other teams really helped me during that period when I didn't have another co-founder. And it also, I think it helped me engage more with some of the other mentors and really just dive into them for some information. And
Great.
There you go.
Okay. So let's jump into some other questions and see what else we got on here.
Thea, just one follow-on point of that. If the application, it looks like window dressing because you said, well, I need, a chief technology person and I need general counsel, and you start filling in all of these things. If it's window dressing, it kind of looks like window dressing.
You can tell.
I mean, Bill Gates is not going to be your CTO. And I put him down there because I use Microsoft. Well, it's just, you have to, if you have a hole, it's much better to say, look, this is a void that's important to fill, but it's not yet filled.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. There's kind of this balance between, do you know what you need and do you already have it? It's probably more important to know what you need and then load your team carefully with the right people, because you can also get in a situation where you load your team with a lot of people and then you've come to find out that they weren't the right people, and that gets you in a really messy cap table situation, which later on down the road is something you might have to dig yourself out of. And I guess that could speak to one of the things I was just going to bring up next as a topic, is like, what are some of the mistakes maybe that folks have made during TVA or as they've launched companies that you've worked, some of the issues you've worked with companies on that, and I'm going to just throw one right out there, coachability. And because I know that that's something that is always an issue, and maybe you could comment on some of the things you've seen with the cohorts.
Well, I mean, I think it's everyone's objective when you're coming into a program like this. Your goal is you want to get out and you want to get funded and you want to get moving.
Right.
And funding is a goal for everyone. For you guys, it's our goal to help you get funded. We enjoy seeing you guys get funded and getting launched. But along the way, you're coming into a program like this to get advice. And I think one of the things that it's different about this program to some of the other programs that are out there is, given that this is 5 months. I mean, we do take the first month, 6 weeks, to really focus on the business and make sure that your market data is good, and to make sure that your market product fit is good, and to make sure that you've got a good plan. We want you to think about funding from day one, but you're not necessarily working on funding starting day one. And so, it's important that you're open to advice. Mm-hmm. You're open to criticism, and you're open to some of the small shifts that are naturally going to happen in the first month or 2 months of this program. And if you're not open to it, then I might say this program and a lot of other accelerator programs are not going to be what you're looking for right now, because that's part of the value that we all bring. Is we bring some elements of experience in one form or another, and you've got to be willing to listen and willing to take some of that advice and shape it.
And I think one of the other things that I've seen is where someone doesn't follow the program and do the things that they're supposed to do to get their viable product developed and get the software that they need, if they need that, or whatever the pieces are. And all of a sudden, then towards the end, when they're out, they're going to need to raise money, they find out that some of the pieces are missing because they haven't followed the program and done what they were to do when they were supposed to do it. And that becomes a problem, because then the focus becomes raising money, but they don't have all the ammunition that they need.
Yep, that's true. Patrick, there's a couple of questions that are specifically geared to you that I think that might fit right in here. And the first one is, what is the number one thing you personally gained from TVA? And what is the number one thing your business got out of the program?
Got it. So for me, the number one thing that I personally gained would have to be the relationship with the mentors, and specifically Len right here. Even during the application process, Len was helping me out and giving me some advice on the company. And we got in a routine of meeting up at least once a week, and it was by far the most valuable thing for me. Like, it's as we say, it's like definitely like a roller coaster ride, like during the program and beyond. Like, launching a company, you're gonna have crazy highs and lows, and Len really helped me identify that before I even got started, which was huge, because like once I'm knee deep in it, I could always look back at that and just kind of like help stay level headed. And so just helping me personally as like a coach to manage the stress and deal with this project. And then while simultaneously having huge contributions to the company that differentiated us from anyone out there, and specifically our customer acquisition strategy and how we're growing and getting in front of people, and we're really seeing the benefits of that right now, and it's been extremely exciting.
Getting funded wasn't a bad benefit either.
No, not at all, not at all. That's and that's the other. Yeah. So I was gonna put that.
That's an assumption.
I was gonna put that into part 2 of this question.
Okay.
What has been the biggest benefit for the company? And great question there. And I would have to say the lean launch methodology that's like perfectly executed during the 5-month program. Things start off with a 2-week boot camp, and then from there you're building and testing your business model, which spend the most time there, get in front of your customers, learn from them, and to go a little more specifically on that, like when I applied to TVA, I had this grandeur idea of working on this site, like behind closed doors, and then launching it at the end of the program. And then I quickly learned through the TVA that that's just like not how you do it. You need to learn from your customers, you need to get feedback from your customers, and you need to do that now. That way you can easily make changes and you don't have this giant product out there that nobody loves. And then so with that, it was a month into the program, I had like a landing page that was online, like, super simple and easy, but it's still our site that we are using right now. It allows us to do edits. And with that, I mean, we've brought in some revenue. We are learning from our customers, and we've identified like how we can drastically increase and and make the workflow as efficient as possible. And then from there and then prep for the race as like the other part for that. And which all of a sudden, like we're all focusing on, testing our product, building our product, launching it. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, demo days in like 3 weeks. And everyone starts freaking out. And, but it's the best way to do it because you're focused on your product and your business throughout the whole program, that you have something on demo day to really showcase and share with people. And then, I mean, the TVA totally flips the investment piece on its side. Like, typically all the companies are going up to investors and pitching their idea. At the end of the demo day here, you have investors coming up to your table and talking about how they want to invest in your company, which I have never heard of or seen before. And there's a room of like over 100 like qualified investors, and it's people who are really interested in this group of people. You go to some other startup communities, you got hundreds of companies and limited resources. Here you have a few select companies and a bunch of investors. And so they really tee you up for that unique opportunity to raise your round and take it to the next level. So in a nutshell, the lean launch methodology and prepping for the race.
So there's one more question directly for you, and it's about like, what was your typical day at TVA?
Okay, so there's not really like a typical day. They structure it so on Wednesdays and Fridays, it's really some time for you to work on the things that you have in front of you and execute. And then the other days of the week, they have some planned activities, be it an entrepreneur in residence coming in, giving a lecture, and then with the Q&A. And then these people that are coming in for these Q&As are like like some people that you would never imagine or have the opportunity to get in front of otherwise. So you would have these people come in, and their talks would be specific to what phase we are in the launch. Like, okay, right now we're trying to figure out our customer segment. So the entrepreneur in residence would focus on that and help you pick your the best customer segment for you to focus on. And then, like say a month later, you're now like getting ready to launch your product and get it in front of people. And then the entrepreneur in residence would focus on that. So the typical day changes, but just getting feedback from the mentors and investors and people who have proven themselves and have the knowledge and will fine tune it to where you are in the company.
Great. So let's see. When we go back to our mentor group and go to, what do you think the best time to apply to an accelerator is? What do you think the stage of the company is that they should be in? Any thoughts on that?
I think
Any
we've seen
about
almost
that?
every
Right.
stage you could possibly have.
What'd you say, Len, earlier, from the napkin to
revenue? I mean,
Yeah.
we get applications where companies are kind of across the board. I mean, obviously, if you're at multi-million dollars of revenue and you might be beyond some of the activities that we do here, but even if you got a product that you've launched and you're starting to make revenue, depending on the challenges and what's in front of you, this could be a program that can help. I mean, hell, companies a lot of times don't get true product market fit till they're a couple $1 million of revenue and down the road, because they've learned so much from their customers that they've been changing their product the first year or two. So I think and to the napkin side, again, it could be, you don't have to necessarily have a prototype, you don't have to have a product already built. It could be an idea. It's got to be fleshed out. It's got to be well thought out. It's got to be, you've got to understand your market. You've got to show you've got some subject matter expertise. But, if it's in idea phase, we like to see those too, because those, that's certainly a perfect time to get into an accelerator, because we can accelerate the business. I mean, within 5 months, you will have, if you follow the program, you will have a business to launch. And you'll be in a position to go raise money. But we've seen them all. Yeah.
If I had the opportunity, I mean, I had market expertise and I had product expertise, but I was missing so many other things. And I think of, you mentioned the mentors that live here and the ones that have second home here. And then there's a group that just comes in
Yeah.
to help, the Jules Fieri, those people who,
Yeah.
you know, I'd been a lot smarter if I had access to them than I was. And it'd be, you know, many fewer tire treads over my back, you know, if I had access to the kind of people that come in here. And you get people like Jules come in just, you know, she does here in Harvard, and she just comes in to spend time with the program, doesn't go out skiing, she doesn't ski. I mean, that is priceless, absolutely priceless.
It would have saved me years of mistakes. You know, I learned through the School of Hard Knocks.
Yes.
I didn't have an accelerator to when I started my business back in the 90s, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it.
It's very impressive people come in.
What kind of companies do you like to work with, or like what stage are they at, you know, in their process?
You know, I think I've worked, as you guys have too, with people at all different stages, from they have, you know, one prototype to they have a website, you know, it's a web-based thing that's up and running with, you know, customers and all that kind of thing. And I can't say that I have a preference. I think what I enjoy most is what the people who come here do feel, to me, very open to learn. I mean, that's really gratifying as someone who has something that I want to share. And they are very open to learn. They're scribbling notes, and they're really taking it to heart. So I feel like at almost any stage, I've been able to add value.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background. We'll take companies all the way from an idea to $1 million in revenue. Our first year, we had a company that came in that had $600,000 in revenue already, and they were able to get incredible amount of value through the program. And as Len was mentioning, just because you have revenue doesn't mean you figured it out. Because
Absolutely true.
Yeah, right. I mean, so companies pivot all the time. They develop in the techniques that you learn here and the interactions that you have, and it's all valuable from that point on, and you can use it for years and years to come.
I think one of the big advantages is that some of us have made so many mistakes and seen train wrecks from, you know, decisions that we made, that the companies can benefit from the mistakes that we've made.
Absolutely.
You know, and gives them a chance. I had a teacher in graduate school who said, you know, the most important thing was think about the tertiary impact of something you're doing. Not the primary impact, not the secondary impact, but think about, and it opens up your mind. You really start thinking about things that could be issues, problems, or opportunities if you start doing that. And the mentors do it naturally because they've seen things that worked out well, and they've seen things that haven't worked out well.
I think this is a good segue to our next question. You want to cue that up? How does TVA help a startup succeed? So maybe, I don't know, you could think of a specific example that you've worked with one of the companies on that you think that might have helped them move along.
I have something just very specific, and maybe feels like a small thing, but I think it ended up having a big impact. I was working with one of your companies that had a dental device.
Oh yeah.
And it was actually
Awestruck, right? Yeah.
Okay, it was developed by a dentist, and she felt there was a need for this particular tool, and so she developed it a certain way, and she was kind of, I think, pretty far along, ready to go, and decided to take it to a few colleagues or people that she knew in a certain market, and we developed a whole kind of methodology for gathering up sort of expectations about what the product might be before they saw it, and then actually using it and having both the patient and the doctor provide feedback. And she changed the product.
She not only changed the product, but she figured out she was going after the wrong market.
That too.
So she went now it's the dental hygienists that are the primary market,
not the dentist.
Not the dentist.
She figured that out while she was there. Yeah.
So
they
would not have
ran into her socially this summer, and she was so excited because it was almost sort of like a sanity check that she thought she was doing by going to the market and talking to people with her prototype, and it ended up having a couple pennies there, right?
Yeah.
So that was very gratifying.
Yeah, the change in the product was that they needed to have suction,
right,
along with the device that held the mouth open, the jaw dropper. So yeah, and now it's
yeah. And then I think when she was there, she's like, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? Because just because you're in your box and you've got your idea and you know what you're thinking, and then asking a few questions, you really can develop. So that was super satisfying for me. and her too. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to answer that question a slightly different way. And, you know, when I see what it takes for a startup to succeed, there are so many moving parts. You know, if we started to list them out on a board, you'd quickly get overwhelmed with all the things that have to go right to help you succeed. And, you know, one of the things that we do is we break all those things down, and we break them down into, you know, there's actually a curriculum that you guys use. But as, you know, you're going through week by week in the program, those things get broken down and we tackle them one at a time. We don't necessarily get to every little thing because every business is a little different, and every business is going to need, you know, has different moving parts to it. But there's so much that has to go right for you to succeed. You know, I look at it as our goal is to get more of the things right than you get wrong, because you will definitely get things wrong. That's just part of the cycle of getting a business started and launched. And, you know, part of our job is to see that we get more of those things right than we get wrong to increase your odds.
And I think one of the companies, the CEO thought that he had to be involved in every single decision that was made about every single aspect of it. And I, you know, having run some companies, I had a chance to sit down and explain that you're not going to be able to do that if you ever grow the company to anything. And that he had a team of people, and there were some very talented people, but he felt he had to run everything through him, and suggested a different structure that would make people responsible, accountable for aspects that they were actually doing. And that gets into the coachability piece and all those other kinds of things. But it was just something that he was too close to, and he just didn't see that it really was an impediment doing it the way he was doing it, as opposed to an opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Jack. I think one of the things about the way that what we've observed over time and now how we're reacting is we spent a lot of time trying to work with the founders directly on developing their own leadership skills. And I know Len and I have been working on that this last year, and we hope to really even beef that up this next year. And Ashley, who's not on camera, but she's sitting over there so we can look at her.
Our producer.
You'll hear soon.
And so,
Losing you, Patrick.
oh yeah, so
No, I'm back.
you know, that's a huge piece. And so what Jack was talking about is the ability to delegate, ability to, you know, kind of move projects forward, you know, just some of the issues CEOs deal with. So we have a variety of things like CEO roundtables, and we have some specialty kind of offerings like, you know, having some of the HR consultants coming in and talking about just how do you build and motivate teams. And so the point is being that we understand that this is not something you've necessarily done before, and that you're coming in, you're all by yourself. And then you're kind of like going through this whole transformation where then you're going to be a business, and then you're going to be big, and how are you going to do this? And so, you know, we're trying to work and tackle all that one thing at a time in order to help you get there. There's a couple questions. I just want to make sure we get through these. So there's this one about the mentor's background. I think we already worked on that. And then go ahead, click that. What are the venues to find out, you know, who those mentors are and how do we match up? Well, you know, we spent a lot of time trying to put you in front of mentors in the first 2 weeks. So the first 2 weeks is our boot camp, and in those first 2 weeks, you probably meet 1/3 of the mentors, because they just, you know, we try to get everybody to show up if they can. And that's a really great process. We also have a full mentor list online that you can look at. It's on our website. And then I meet with the teams once a week, and we work on kind of where you're at and what mentors would be beneficial for you to access and that you haven't run into yet. So that's how that works. Okay, wondering what weight you put on past entrepreneurial experience. This is my 7th startup, but I'm switching from industrial to consumer tourism for this business model. Cool. That's it. Cool. You know, we all have something we can learn from our next place, and certainly going from a B2B to a B2C market is a big change. It's great if you've been an entrepreneur before. I guess the caveat I would put in there is that this is truly an environment where the mentors are where the mentors are very engaged, and coachability is a very important thing. So if by having 7 startups, then you should actually be a mentor with us rather than an entrepreneur. I mean, I don't know if that would be, you have to just kind of investigate with yourself as to whether or not, you know, how you feel about that. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean,
7-time
you could be a part
entrepreneur.
of 7 startups, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean you're part of 7 successes. And it doesn't mean you know everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know if the person that asked that question is if that's the case or not. But one, I think there's always something to learn,
Mhm.
especially when you're switching gears from a B2B to a B2C market. That's a pretty drastic change. So, on the one hand, there's always something to learn, and where there's big changes coming with this business, maybe you can find some expertise among our mentor group that really helps that. I mean, you'll be ahead in some respects because you've been down a road and you've made mistakes and you have some successes and so you can take that and apply that to the one going forward. But yeah, I mean that is a pretty individual thing to make a decision.
I think as long as the folks that are in the program are open, then it's neither a disadvantage to never have done it or a great advantage to have done it multiple times, because you have to be open. It's a great experience if you're willing to learn.
I'm going to jump to a couple more questions just to get through these, but some of these questions might be better in our Q&A session that Jesse and I are going to do in another week or so. So keep in mind that you have other opportunities to get these questions answered. But the program is full-time? Yes. And can you hold down a job while you're doing this? Probably not. It's really difficult. Yes, it's full-time. Yes, you're here. We understand that people have got other things going on. Sometimes there are team members that are doing some other things on the side. Any comment on that, Patrick? What's your thought on that? I mean, what if you had a full-time job when you were here?
Yeah, I had to quit. I definitely thought I had to quit my job, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Because especially things kick off with the 2-week boot camp, which is from 8 to 7 pretty much, like those first 2 weeks, Monday through Friday. And you want to kick that off on the right foot. And so I think, if you get into this program, I think that's the validation that you should take the leap, and they provide some seed funding to help make that happen.
Yeah. Okay, so does TVA have connection with mezzanine funding? We've had 2 companies go to Series A and raise over $1 million, 2 of our graduate companies. So yes, I think so. I think we have good connections, and we're continuing to build those connections. And I mentioned before, the average raise out of TVA is around $550,000 within the first year. Part of how we're doing that is we have roadshows in Denver, Boulder area, and San Francisco, and that helps us to kind of grow the network and also to access the network that's in those areas that are kind of really part of the Telluride community, because a lot of people that live here
Come from those areas.
Yeah, yeah. If an application is not accepted, is it possible to get the feedback on that thinking? No necessary. Okay. That's tough. We will do our best. That's all we can say. We will do our best to provide you with feedback. But it's a bandwidth issue. So if we can, we will. Once an applicant is accepted and joins TVA, what return is expected from TVA? I'm not sure if I'm going to answer this correctly, but it's a $30,000 investment for a 5% equity stake. I'm not sure if I know how else to answer that. You stated the mentors review. Okay, so you stated the mentors review 3 primary things when reviewing applications: idea, market, and team. Can you speak to what makes an idea stand out above all others? Okay, I'll take that one. What makes an idea stand out for you?
You can make money with it. Does it have the potential to be commercially very viable?
Yeah, I mean, I would say how new is the idea? So I come from the tech world, internet technology. I ran an internet tech company for many, many, many years, and been involved in others and now mentor them. And, there's a lot of stuff out there, and ideas are often not as original as
you think they are?
people think they are.
Yeah.
And you know, what I'm looking for is really, you know, how the concept takes something and is trying to do it much better and different, you know, truly different from, you know, the other stuff that's out there in the marketplace. You know, are you just trying to be another CRM product? Are you trying to be a, you know, another YouTube or another social media site? You know, truly what is unique and different about it? That's, you know, that's one of the things I look for. Because in the tech world, there's just so much noise. It's, if you're just, you know, another one of the masses, it's hard to get noticed.
And if you haven't done your homework in your application and listed the folks that you
Competition.
I mean, because, you know, I mean,
differentiate yourself.
Everybody's, you know, it's our nature. As soon as I see something, I'm going to be like curious, and I'm going to be like, ooh, I'm going to Google that and see if I can find, like, and if I can find it on the first page, you know, I can find, like, you know, 3 other companies are doing similar things, and you haven't mentioned them and tell me why your differentiation is important. It's just, you know, it's going to be a showstopper. I know. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think is important about an idea?
Do you know, I have to deflect that question since I haven't been as involved, but thank you.
Okay. Super.
Well, I think, you know, having at one point ran the credit card operation of the 6th largest bank in the country, and I had a friend of mine called me up and said, you know, would you like to go down to Dallas? We're meeting with this company, and I was in Houston at the time. It was a quick trip. I said, nah, you know, they were going to do in payment systems. It was PayPal, and I declined to go to the meeting to meet them because, well, you know, I knew, because I had run a credit card operation and I knew how payment systems worked, and figured these guys could never be successful. As it turned out, they were. So, you know, I didn't take the time to learn what was different about them. But so, you know, they can be very similar, but you really have to dig into some a little bit to make sure you understand it.
You know, sure. I mean, it's not just because somebody else has come up with the idea. I mean, your execution might be so much better. You might be better positioned to do this. You might have you know, it's implementation. We all, you know, ideas to some degree are really just, you know, dime a dozen, and it's the execution that's really amazing, and also just, you know, the innovation around it. I don't know. It seems like it. So we have just a couple of minutes left, and I want the mentors to have the opportunity to kind of say whatever they feel like saying at the end of this, whatever that might be, a message to you all that might be applying. And Patrick, I don't know, what would you say to folks that are, you know, applying to or thinking about applying to TVA?
One thing I would say, if you're thinking about it, is just why not? You know, it's definitely worth applying, and at the least, just do that. You know, put the time into this application, and then you won't be having this what if in a couple of months later. So that's, I definitely recommend, if you're thinking about it, just do it.
And I think one of the things, this is a very exciting environment.
I mean,
really talk about stimulating. I mean, some of the people who have come in and mentor that I've met, I am so impressed by, and I've just, you know, where were you in my life, you know, back when I could have really used you. But I mean, it's exceptional people, and this town is just, someone once said, you know, small town, big people. It is, you know, the foundation started this program, and the foundation has some really, really important people. That
TVA Foundation.
TVA Foundation, and that really care about this program. And you would not get just the speakers that are graduations on demo day. If you just go through who those people are, I mean, this is like crazy exciting. And I think that's what the mentors get excited about it. They see the opportunity, and I just think it's a lot more fun than any, you know, graduate school course or anything else I was ever involved in.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the community here too, and I think that the passion of the people who live here, I think it can be inspiring on many levels. There are certainly a lot of people who are very successful financially and commercially, and then just people who are just a real inspiration to me in terms of the intensity with which they live their lives and the passion they have in their life. And I think that energy is really here in this valley, and it draws together kind of like-minded people from very different backgrounds who just want to get the most out of life on every level. And I think that is, I would imagine, as a coming from the outside and trying to grow a business, it would be a really neat environment to be feeling that passion and that support and all that. So. And you could go skiing at lunch, right, Dan? Did you let them go skiing at lunch?
Yes,
I didn't hear about that in your schedule.
Yes, yeah.
Bring your dog to the office.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is Telluride is a bit of an extreme place, and it tends to attract extreme people. When I say extreme people, I mean, for the good side. Like, we have professional athletes, and we have, like the top of the top, whether they're artists or they're musicians. The musicians that roll through this town are absolutely amazing, and then some of them make their home in this town, or their second home in this town, and so it doesn't matter whether it's business, whether it's sports or what. It attracts extreme people.
It does,
and it is it's exciting to be around. And I don't know that we can necessarily articulate it until someone gets in and really.
Nobody here
starts to
does
feel
anything
it.
halfway, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to
there's
put
a
it,
lot.
yeah.
I was getting at passion, similar point of view. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I guess I would just say a tip on the application is a lot of the application, of course, is video based. Don't worry about going out and getting professional video, and don't think that you've got to spend hours and hours on the actual production of the video. I think giving the time to think about what you say, and thinking about the business is far more important than the quality. I mean, you could sit in front of you could sit in front of your camera, with your webcam, and just talk at your desk, because I'm listening to what you're saying more than I care about where you are, what you're doing, or what the surrounding production value of the video is. So focus on content in your application, not on the production.
That's great. Well,
We
we're
had two questions.
Okay.
Last question that came in via chat.
okay.
How many people are applying now that you know about?
We hopefully, we're probably going to get, we've always gotten at least 100 applications. We'll probably get, more than that this year, 100, 150. What's the next question?
And then the next question is, the $30K investment from TVA is awarded at the end of the program, or we're in the process?
We give that in 3 tranches. So that's the first tranche before you actually get here, after the contract is signed. And then I believe the next is in February, next is in March. So it's fairly early on in the process. And I think somebody asked if we've never had a situation where somebody's dropped out in the middle. We screen pretty heavily, so that's never happened. And I think about 80% of the companies are still in business right now. That was another question.
And then the 5% equity is expected once revenue comes in?
5% equity stake, that's part of the contract, original contract. So whether or not you're a corporation or whether you're just a sole proprietorship at this point, we enter into an agreement. So the equity is in exchange for the $30,000 that we provide. So with that, I just want to remind you of some dates, important dates. October 16th is the deadline for the application, so please keep that in mind. And also, we'll be getting in touch with you. We have your email if you've signed up and been on this conference. So we will remind you of when the Q&A session with Jesse and myself will be. So if you have any more questions, we can certainly answer them then. And we'll have that, we got a dog. And we have the audio panel with a couple of the experts in the outdoor field, and that's going to be available as of the 1st of October. And as always, Ashley and I are available for questions, and you can email us. And just want to say thank you to the mentors, because I always say thank you to the mentors, because without them, we would not have a program. They're amazing, and I hope you get to meet them. So thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Take care.
Pressing stop broadcast.
Whose dog is